I'm here on Osney Island in West Oxford. It's surrounded by water and is a place that's known to flood. Residents here have future-proofed their homes to stop water coming in, but that doesn't stop them getting anxious every time it rains. Simon Collins had to foot the bill to repair his house from flooding because of poor workmanship.
Dealing with the aftermath of a flood, particularly if it's been very widespread across the country, is very difficult because insurers are under pressure, loss adjusters are under pressure. We had a builder recommended by the insurance company, very reputable local company, but we found when we engaged with them that they were basically hiring in anybody they could kind of find to come in and rip plaster off. And we then had damp problems afterwards. We had to have a lot of stuff redone at our own expense by other builders because it had been done very poorly. So I think we've kind of learned a lot. Water comes up through the floor. I've got this hatchway that I can open up that allows me to look down into the void below. And then I've just dropped this submersible pump into the void so it would sit in the water. And then this hose runs out through the window and sort of points out onto the street. So it's pumping water out of here, out onto the road.
Once the river levels start to rise, Simon has an action plan. They move furniture upstairs, put floodgates on the doors and block the air bricks at the front of the house. Their washing machine and fridge get lifted onto wooden pallets to keep the water away. For Sasha, a young mother who lives around the corner from Simon, the water levels are always on her mind.
Nothing really prepares you psychologically for what it's like to have to lift up your floorboard and see that your underfloor is completely flooded through and you're inches from flooding inside. And it really scared us. It would be wonderful if we could get some granting to support to put in a permanent pump underfloor so that we don't have to pull our house apart every time.
Just down the road from Simon and Sasha, I met up with some other residents at a local yoga studio. Thanks everyone for coming. Let's start with you, Jackie. Tell me a little bit about the yoga studio.
So we haven't been flooded here, but we bought a building that was a commercial building. Part of the planning constrictions were that the building allows water in. In a certain sense, we are the floodplain here.
Peter, tell me about your experience.
Our kitchen floods. The water comes up through the brick floor. In 2007, I think it was, we put in a sump pump at the back of the house, and it's a bit akin to bailing a boat. You just pump the water out and chuck it over the side. Particularly the bottoms of the kitchen units get a bit hammered. It's a bit annoying to have to wear Wellingtons when you're cooking.
Liz, tell me about how the floods affect you and your children.
The house itself doesn't flood. The garden floods very, very regularly. Last year it was underwater for about 3 months. As for how my children deal with it, they think it's quite exciting to be able to canoe in the garden, frankly, for several months of the year and to be able to canoe down to the climbing frame. But of course it is a worry because you never know what there actually is in the water.
Jackie, who couldn't get flood insurance for her commercial property, showed me what they've done to allow water in and out of the building and effectively making it a floodplain.
Basically, we have laid a surface on the floor that is impervious to water. We have valves at the front of the building that would let the water in if it came to have enough pressure to want to flow through the building. And then what we've done is having all the sockets really high. You notice that everything is a little bit elevated off the floor.
Yeah.
And it can be moved in case. The batteries are submersible, so until where the electricity goes in and out, surfaces have been lifted so that nothing is at floor level. And here at this end we have the valves that will take the water out of the building into a soakaway in the garden.
Yep.
Or back into the building if the water came from the other side. So they go both ways.
Peter, if you found this, how the island used to be before they had the large pump that the Environment Agency...
Yes. The pump has made a huge difference, and the barriers, of course, that they put up.
Baz lives 5 minutes away from Osney Island on Earl Street, and he said flooding isn't the only issue.
The area actually floods. And surface water goes into the sewer as well. Well, they overflow, and it's not just surface water that comes out at that point, other bits and bobs come out as well. And what you then have is traces of excrement on the streets after the floods are gone for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Flood protection measures have been put in place in Earl Street. There's a large built-in pump and a mobile one that's brought in when the water levels rise. There is one solution to the flooding problem in the city, and that's the proposed Oxford Flood Alleviation Scheme.
The scheme captures all the flood water above Oxford. It channels it naturally across the west side of Oxford, and then we're going to create a new stream and a wetland corridor that will keep all the water left west of Oxford rather than in Oxford.
So when we bought a house here, the flood alleviation scheme had been announced and was being planned, and that is now 2016. I think not a single spade has actually gone into the soil for that. Why can't we get this right? And the residents of West Oxford are really struggling with that.
Not all residents are in favour of the current alleviation scheme and feel that the Environment Agency have not, so far, been willing to discuss other options.
We are not against a flood scheme to save Oxford houses from flooding. We want that to happen. But the channel that they are proposing to drive through these beautiful, excellent meadows, which have been here thousands of years doing their job, will be totally destructive of wildlife, very rare grasslands.
Lots of experts think it may not work. It costs an enormous amount of money, and that's going to destroy the floodplain, when what the Environment Agency should do is help the floodplain to work by clearing out the ditches and the channels and things. They're all blocked up.
The Oxford Flood Alleviation Scheme is expected to cost £176 million if it goes ahead, and the announcement for that will be this spring by DEFRA, the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. We'll keep you updated on South Today in the coming weeks on the results on that, and I'll have the weather forecast for you later in the programme.